Hey guys, my name's Severin Graeme. I'm a sailor here at American Magic, and I'll be competing in the Youth America's Cup this summer. I just wanted to walk you through one of the training tools we have for the youth sailors and women sailors. This is our AC40 sim, so we spend a lot of time in here working on skills that we're going to use for racing when we get on the water. Inside the boat here, you can see that there's 4 seats. The front 2 are driver's seats. In sailing, we call them skippers or helmsmen or helmswomen. And then the 2 seats behind, on my left and just straight behind me, are trimming seats. So the 2 people in the front are driving and the 2 people in the back are doing the accelerator. And together, with a lot of coordination, you have to make the boat fly. You don't see it here, but there's normally a really big mainsail that divides the 2 halves of the boat, and it makes it so it's impossible to see your teammates that are on the other side of the sail. So when we're racing, we have headsets on with like walkie-talkies essentially, so we're able to communicate with the other side of the boat. So the main thing that the skipper has is obviously your steering wheel. This is similar to any car that you've been in before. If you turn left, the boat goes left. You turn right, the boat goes right. In the boat, there's normally a really big foil arm that's kind of attached right here, and it'll be down in this like downward position, and then it'll swing all the way up and come out of the water. So when you're sailing, you only need 2 of the foils in the water at a time. If you have a 3rd one in, that's just a lot of extra drag, which essentially slows the boat down. So whenever the boat tacks back and forth, which is going on either side of the wind, we'll pull up one board and put it down. These buttons will only control the foil that's on your side of the boat. Down here is your cancel button, so if you make a mistake hitting these, you can cancel that last function. The other control that drivers will have is the height of the boat, and they can control literally, if this is the water and this is the boat, how high or how low the boat's flying relative to the water. What the danger is, if you go too high and your foils come out of the water, then the boat's going to crash. So it's a risky game that the skippers are constantly assessing to decide what mode is the best for the sailboat at any given time. These 2, height plus and minus, is going to be the platform of your boat in the water. There's 2 more controls. One of them, we refer to it as cant. It's a fancy word that describes the position of that foil arm. So you can have it stowed all the way down, all the way up, or a spectrum of angles anywhere in between it. So cant's kind of choosing how far away or how underneath the foil is relative to the boat. Other than that, you have 2 information screens that gives you all the numbers that you input on your button panel here. It's going to reflect on these screens here. So your cant positions, what I was talking about earlier, is the angle of the foil. This number is telling you the height of the boat, and it's relative to the surface of the water. So right now it's a negative number, which means you're below the water with your foil, and we're 0.9 meters below the surface of the water. Trim is measured in degrees, and that's how many degrees the bow is pointed down. So a negative trim means your bow is pointed down relative to the water, and a positive trim would be bow pointed up as if you're taking off like an airplane. And then these top numbers here are going to be your boat speed measured in knots. Knots is it's a sailing term for speed that we use on the water. It's measured the same way as miles per hour, but 1 knot's about 1.2 miles per hour. So it's pretty similar metric. And then this is going to tell us our angle relative to the wind, and then the heel, which is the roll of the boat itself. Our final screen here that the helms have, this is our racing software screen. So it's not populating right now with numbers, but when we're racing on the water, this is going to help you see where your boat is on the race course, where the other boats are on the race course, and where the marks are. So it helps you get around the racetrack and facilitates the racing for us when we're on the water. Now I'm in the back of the boat, which is a more comfortable spot for me. This is where I typically sit when we're sailing on the actual boat. This is the trimming position. So the 2 people here share the job of trimming the 2 sails. There's 2 sails on this boat. There's the main sail, which is your really big one. It's going to divide the cockpits, and it's easy to remember because your main sail is your really large one. It's going to be the main one that powers the boat. And then there's a head sail, which is just in front of the main sail, and we refer to that sail as a jib. So when you're on the side of the boat that's further downwind, you're adjusting the jib. When you're on the side of the boat that's closer to the wind, you're adjusting the main. And then as the boat changes its direction and course, kind of the roles will switch all the time. So it's a really proactive job as a trimmer, and you always have a different sail to look at throughout the day. So there's a couple different controls that you have as a trimmer. The main ones are the actual tension of the sheet, which is going to change the shape of the sail. As you pull more sheet on, it essentially is like pushing the gas pedal down more, and you can go faster and faster. But if you pull too much sheet on, it's called stalling the sail, and you'll lose lift in the sail, and then the boat will crash out of the sky. So as a trimmer, you need to dance this fine line between performance and safety, and that's what they're trying to constantly evaluate while racing. This is the control panel that we have as trimmers. The primary things you're going to use are these two joysticks. So they go out and in like this. If you push them away, that's essentially like if you were to be holding a sheet in your hands and you want to release the sheet, you're pushing it away. So it's the same action here. You're not physically holding a sheet like typical sailboats, but the action's the same. So if you want to ease something or let it go, you push it away. And if you want to trim it or pull it in, you're going to pull it towards you. And these joysticks correspond to hydraulic hoses that move all the ropes for us. So there's not a physical aspect to this boat and normal sailing. It's all at your fingertips here. This furthest right joystick is going to be your traveler adjustment. So that's going to be the sail in and out. If you push it away, the sail will move away relative towards you or out. If you pull it towards you, it's going to move in towards the center line of the boat. And moving in is going to give you more power. Moving away is going to decrease your power. And then this is your primary sheet adjustment, which is the rope that actually attaches to the back of the sail. And when you pull this, it's going to pull the mainsail down towards the deck of the boat. And if you push it away, it's going to push it up towards the deck of the boat. So it's a combination of these two triggers, if you will, that really controls how much power you have in the boat. And the rest of these buttons here control the shape of your sail. So trim is going to adjust just like an airplane. You know, when you go to take off, you can have the airplane nose really high up. We can do the same thing on the boat, so it can be bow up, we refer to it, or bow down, or you can have level flight, and depending on the conditions, we'll have different setups for the boat with waves and everything. Just like an airplane, I don't know if you guys ever looked out of the window and noticed the wing when you're taking off, but when you're taking off, the wing it opens up those flaps, and it'll be an extra part of the wing that gets longer and extends it. That's going to help you take off your airplane at a lower speed and prevent stall. And then as the airplane accelerates, you can notice that those flaps will retract into the wing. So we have similar adjustments where we don't have actual flaps, but we can make the sail deeper or flatter, and it all depends on what speed you're going. You want to set up the sail correctly for that speed so you, again, don't stall the boat. All the way over here are called your Cunningham. The top, when you press this button, it's going to make the lines looser. When you press the bottom button, it's going to make the lines tighter. And your Cunningham adjusts how flat the entrance of your sail is. So if you make it deeper, it's going to be more cambered like this. And if you pull it on and make it flatter, it's going to be flatter like that. The next two buttons here, this is ease and trim again. This is going to adjust how deep the middle of the sail is. So if you push this top one here, it's going to deepen up the middle of the sail, and the bottom one is going to flatten it out with your hand here. And then these bottom two buttons are going to be your mast rotation. That actually changes the angle of the mast relative to the wind. These buttons are most important when you have to do a tack or a jibe. When you switch different sides of the wind, you actually need to move the mast as well as the sails from side to side. So whenever you make a tack or a jibe, you need to use these buttons to move the rig back and forth. And your invert button also has to do with your mast rotation and helps tack the mast in more fast turning moments. Otherwise, this last button, the main jib button, you hit that to switch which sail you're adjusting, and then all the controls stay the same, but just for the other sail. So when it's lit up blue, you're adjusting the big sail, the main, and when it's not lit up, you're adjusting the jib. All right, thank you guys so much for walking through the AC40 with me. I think it's time that we get back to doing some training. I hope you learned a ton about the boat and you guys are inspired to do some sailing yourselves. But until I see you on the starting line, enjoy the school year.